what's going on, guys? Brant here with CPC Bodybuilding, the home of Men's Classic Physique. Got a preview of the Indy Pro Super Show Men's Classic Physique Division with my friend, IFBB Classic Physique Pro, Rob Van Sant. Welcome to the show, Rob. How you doing, man?
Good, man. Like we were just talking, man. It's going well. So, Brant, thank you for having me here. You know, it was a very pleasant surprise. Thank you for reaching out and making this work. I'm excited, man. Let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's do it, man. So, like I said, we got the Indy Pro Super Show this upcoming Saturday in Carmel, Indiana, just outside of Indianapolis. It's going to be June 29th, and I will be there at this show covering it in person, giving you guys all the updates on my Instagram. That's CPC Bodybuilding, the exact same as the YouTube page. So you'll be getting all the exclusive footage and all the updates from the pros. So before we jump into the lineup, make sure you guys can find Rob on socials as well. So this is Rob's Instagram. You can find him here. It's vansant.ifbb. So make sure you guys go give him a follow. Check out his bodybuilding updates as well as his baking. Rob is a baker and makes some pretty sweet cakes, pastries, things of that nature.
Trying. It's a work in progress. We're getting there.
So make sure you guys go give him a follow there and support him. And also give me a follow if you're not already. CPC Bodybuilding there on Instagram. So like I said, the Indy Pro Super Show is this Saturday. So Indy is on Eastern time. So these are our times for prejudging and finals. So you can see here, pro prejudging is at 9 a.m. Eastern time. There are only two pro divisions. So we've got Open Classic Physique, and then we've got Bikini. I do believe there's Masters Bikini as well, but that'll probably go a little bit faster. So just two pro divisions. So make sure you guys, if you're wanting to watch the live stream, you're there at 9 a.m. or for finals, 4 p.m. is when they will tentatively start. So make sure you guys are watching at those times for not only updates, but also the live stream. You guys can find it here. It's going to be on Center Podium, which is a streaming software. They have like the Mid USA Pro and plenty of amateur shows here on Center Podium. It's a subscription service that you guys can watch bodybuilding shows on. So live stream is available here. I'll put that in the description as well, so you guys can all check that out. And it's generally a pretty fair price as well. I've never seen a Center Podium stream exceed $30, so it'll probably be affordable as well. So we'll go ahead and jump into our classic physique lineup here. So we got Eric Abalon, Tony Barhoum, Chris Barnes, Devon Causey, Blake Corse, Antonio Cummings, Rohan Duncan, Keith Jenkins, Tyler Johnson, Chuck Masseri, Andre Oliveira, Laconia Seymour, Gerark Toribio Perez, Brian Waters, Lenny Wicks, and Taiwan Williams. So that's our full classic physique lineup for the Indy Pro. And we'll start out with Eric Abalon. So Eric is making, I believe, his third appearance of the season. Eric took fourth at the Charlotte Pro to start out the season. Eric's a pretty seasoned classic physique competitor, pretty consistently in that first call out. I know he wasn't really satisfied with how he did at Fit World. The condition wasn't quite where he wanted it to be, but these are the latest updates we have from him. So Rob, just looking at these updates from this morning, what stands out to you about Eric's physique?
I mean, so I've known Eric. I debuted with him at Toronto in 22, actually. Immediately, it's always his arms, his shoulders, and how well they match his quads, in my opinion. From the front, it's a very strong pose. Like, he doesn't have to do anything fancy. He just stands there, rather. And there's a great balance to it. It's very, like, in your face. Like, it certainly stands out in a crowd, which is why he's always doing so well up in that, typically between, like, I want to say, like, 4th and 6th spot, regardless of the show. Granted, yes, he's had, like, an odd placing here and there. But massive shoulders, arms, quads. From the rear, it kind of follows suit. You know, the shoulders and arms pop out immediately. he is aware that the back is a little lacking. I think if he just brought that up to match everything else, not that it's a bad back, it's just in comparison to everything else, it is overshadowed. But glutes, hamstrings, quads, like, it just, he's a very tough guy to manage. I think he's going to do really well on the show. Quite well in the show, rather. And I think that Fit World placing may have just been some weird thing with tanning, perhaps, because he was looking fantastic in his updates up until that point. And I have his pictures up here. Maybe there's just like an odd circumstance, because I think he placed 10th, and that's just very odd for Eric. So I'm expecting him to do really well. Like, he's always been an impressive guy, and really cool dude. Like, I competed with him, I think, 3 times at this point. So I got a lot of faith in him for this time.
Yeah, I think you summed it up pretty well, man. I like him to do pretty well here as well. The Fit World was a bit of an oddity. He's not usually in that second call out. So I think Eric is great structurally. He's got very crisp lines, just very balanced overall. Like you said, the back is probably the one vulnerability, but I mean, he's even made some posing adjustments too that I can see really benefit him, particularly these 2 shots. These were probably his poses that needed the most tweaking. And it looks like he's getting a little bit more out of his lats, which is something that will definitely take him further. So I think Eric will do pretty well here at the Indy Pro. Next up, we've got Tony Barhoum. So this is from the New York Pro, where he did not place. Tony is a guy who came up from men's physique, and I think he's got really good width. I think that's probably his biggest strength. Could probably use a little bit more density, in my opinion. But just looking at this 4K footage from Gilco, what are your thoughts on Tony, man?
I mean, similar to you, I would say density, certainly. Yes, he does have good width. Like, I got one of his pictures, front double and rear double up from the New York Pro. Conditioning, or at least from what I'm seeing in the pictures, is going to be a factor. Because I see he will have really good hamstrings, and he will have really good glutes, and everything will look very good. He just needs to get sharper. Like, he just needs to come up a little bit more. Front double, maybe work on posing a little bit. I do something similar, sticking the foot out, kind of popping it. And maybe it was just bad timing of this picture that I'm looking at in particular, but it almost seems like he's at like something of an awkward lean. But otherwise, in line with yourself, has the potential, just needs to condition. Like, it's just one of those things that you can't really, it's not unique, I suppose I'll say. Like, anyone can be a little sharper. For him, it's just a little bit more of a priority, I would argue.
Yeah, I'd totally agree, man. Condition could probably come up, and then some adjustments to the posing will certainly benefit him as well. But Tony's got good shape, definitely meant for classic. Next up, we got Chris Barnes. So Chris is actually, in my opinion, one of the better Masters pros out there. Now, this is actually going to be his last show. He's planning on retiring after this show, which I was unaware heading into this. I just found this today after looking through some of his photos. But in my opinion, this is from the Baltimore Masters Pro a couple years ago. And, you can see here, got great structure, pretty good lines as well. I think this is probably his money shot right here. What do you think of the back double?
I was actually just looking at it. And I agree. It does look really good. The guy's got great structure, good shape. I mean, again, we can sit here and say conditioning like we can with just about anyone else. I mean, I like his physique. Masters guy keeps it strong. I don't see any, at least in the rear double and the front double, I don't know that I see any sign of like an injury or a tear. Like, seems to have like healthy muscle, healthy physique. The pictures I'm looking at, I believe, are the North Americans, so last year. Quads could be a little sharper, certainly. But everything else, I mean, it makes sense for his physique, like we could all put on a little bit more size, but I mean, I like it. Like you mentioned, though, like the rear double bicep, it's a strong pose for him. I even like his positioning for like his tricep. I'm a little partial to like a tricep in general, but I like it on him.
Yeah, he looks really good, man. I really wish him the best too, because you know, ending a long bodybuilding career is not an easy thing. So, I hope he goes out on a high note, and I know he's working really hard to make this a good showing. And I
It's a
think
really good
Chris
picture.
is very solid. I could see him being in the top 10 here. I think he's good enough to certainly do that here in his final showing. So that's Chris
Oh, I agree.
Barnes. Next up, we got Devon Causey. So Devon is an Indiana guy. He's going to be making his first appearance this year. So he is a natural pro, if I understand correctly. He took third at the Ben Weider last year, which is the only natural pro show as of right now. So took third place at that show in Classic. So looking at some of these photos, so these are from a day ago. What stands out to you, Rob?
Only because I'm looking at this with my cell phone and I have his pictures from the Ben Weider Naturals pulled up. Referring to his last show, great arms, actually. That was one of those things that kind of stood out to me in his front double. Good arms. Actually, I enjoy his taper. It appears as though he has a scar from a previous surgery at some point. Noticeable in the sense that I have a huge picture shining in front of me, but I mean, I don't really think it detracts entirely from his physique. I don't want to necessarily lean on the crutch that he's natural and then give him the benefit of the doubt there, but I mean, his quads look pretty solid, natural or not. Arms are great, natural or not. Like, he's got some nice bubbly biceps. From the side, you can see like his glutes are actually striated. His hamstrings look pretty good. Really strong side shot, actually. From the rear, same deal. I mean, his hamstrings are in, his glutes are in from what I can see of it. Back looks pretty good. Arms good. Again, it's hard to say, it's hard to ignore it because like the natural thing or whatever, but like just on his own in a normal enhanced lineup, like he's going to be noticed.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think Devon has a lot of strengths. It's just like, I see a lot of similarities between my physique and his physique in that we both have, density is the strength and width is what needs to come up. Like, just generally speaking, some people with a certain rib cage structure kind of get the short end of the stick with the lats, and it looks like the arms kind of overshadow the lats a little bit. But like this guy, I think looks very, very good. May not be the most classic structurally, but he has a lot of strong points, and in my opinion, in this lineup, very well could battle for a top 10 spot.
Yeah.
He's very well put together. He's got good condition, and he's got enough muscle on him as to where, just depending on how he compares with some of these guys, he's definitely not going to look small, especially in that side shot right there. So,
yeah, he's not going to look small at all. Like you're saying, like he's in a really good spot, I'd say. Even last year seems to be, the pictures you're showing up there now, like he should be pretty excited leading into the show.
Yeah. So that's Devon Causey. Next up, we've got Blake Course from Canada. So Blake finished second at the Toronto Pro a few weeks ago. And I got to tell you, I'm a big fan of Blake's structure. I think that's the biggest thing that he brings to the table. Just very structurally gifted. Took all of 2023 to make improvements. He was a 2022 Olympian. So he definitely has to be one of the favorites, if not the favorite, heading into this show. So just looking at the Toronto photos, what do you think, man?
I mean, he's certainly one of my favorites. I have him well within that top 5. I kind of think this is going to be Canada's show, to be quite honest with you. Not to spoil that too soon, but there's not much to say about the dude. Like, he's just because it's so apparent. His structure is awesome. Like, he's very balanced. Everything makes sense. He's got great arms, great lats from the front double. Quads are awesome. Small waist. I could almost nitpick and say I'd want to see if he could make his front double a little more exciting, so to say. But by how it is, it's very safe. It makes a lot of sense for him. The back looks awesome. Really sharp hamstrings, glutes look good. Arms, shoulders is all there. Perhaps a smidge of back width, but admittedly, there's not many people you can't say that with. I definitely have him. He's going to be very confident walking to this show. Like on stage, we're just going to see it that he's showing. He's showing up to win, and damn well deserves it. So I'm excited to see how he does.
Yeah, me too, man. I think Blake will be battling for that top spot. It's gonna be a fun one, that's for sure. And I think Blake will be right there. Next up, we got Antonio Cummings. So Antonio is also a Masters pro, I believe, but just generally competes in Open Classic physique and does pretty well. So he was 8th at Oklahoma, which had, some pretty good guys in that lineup. These are some shots from there. So I think his upper body is really, really good. I think he is a very superb, like V-taper. He's got good lats, small waist, solid arms. I would say probably my one critique, the back's really good, but probably just dialing in the condition and the glutes and hamstrings. That's my one critique. I mean, this is a great backup.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. I got it in your phone, computer. Good density in the back too. Like it's a very strong shot for him. I mean, if nothing else, this is the shot that's going to keep him, fighting into the top 5 for sure. In my opinion, at least. Like having run through all these guys, not too many have such a strong back pose like he does, in particular the rear double bicep. As you mentioned, hamstrings and glutes could use a little bit more improvement. Maybe more so the glutes, because I do think his hamstrings look good. Perhaps a little bit more size. How he's hitting this pose in particular, I'd maybe think bring the leg in a smidge.
Yeah, eliminate that gap.
Yeah. Really, that's the only reason why. Just the gap in the middle there. But he's a really good-looking guy, and he stands out quick. Like the upper body, as you mentioned, strong. Front double bicep, powerful shot for him. One shot in particular, maybe he just didn't activate the quads, but another one looks a little better. He's a strong contender for this one. He absolutely is.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think he'll do pretty well. So that's Antonio Cummings. Next up, we got Rohan Duncan. So Rohan last appeared at the Legion Sports Fest back in 2022. He got second in Masters at that show, and the guy who won Masters won the Open Classic show. That was Jeff Hollenbeck. And this is from a guest posing back in 2022. I mean, I just liked this footage in particular because I think the lighting's really good and it highlights his structure very well.
Yeah.
I was really impressed when I looked at these photos, man. What do you think?
So funny enough, actually, he turned pro at the 2020 Nationals, placing second to Jared Feather. I competed with him, placed 5th, so I've actually ran into him before. So it'll be cool to see how he does a few years later. A lot of these guys actually have some pretty strong arms. What else pops out to me is in his rear and front double, he's got some meaty triceps. Like they actually hang down pretty low, so that's impressive to me. Shape structure looks awesome. I mean, he turned pro for a reason, and he's just supporting that argument now. So I'd be excited to see how he does. Side shot looks really good. Feather chest, sweep looks really great. Struggling to actually find a front double. I pulled it up a little earlier. But even in his front relaxed pose, he's got a really good flow, and his quads, at least at the Legion, look awesome. Like separated, a bit grainy. Shoulders look good. He's a good-looking guy, man. Like he's, as long as he pulls up and making improvements where necessary, like he's safely in that top 10 for sure. I don't know that I have him in the top 5 necessarily, but definitely closer to 5th than not.
Yeah, I think he could get there just depending on how everybody else shows up. But I was just really impressed with his structure. Like this guy has very, very superb structure, and that's like something that it's so tough because like you can't control that. And it's like if you have that already gives you a leg up. All you have to do is just control the things you can control. And
yeah,
I think this guy looks fantastic. So next up, we got Keith Jenkins. So Keith is a Masters pro who, again, also typically competes in Open. So he was planning on hopping into Atlanta, I believe, but decided to jump into this show a little bit early. He did New York earlier this year, didn't place there, but we know how tough New York is just generally. Yeah. And Keith's strength to me is typically his condition and his muscle maturity. Like, this guy is razor sharp at every show and has very deep lines looking at some of these New York shots.
Yeah, you notice that immediately in his quads in his front double. That I can say, like, it's weird. I didn't see the lineup for New York Pro, so I can't exactly make a claim one way or another, but it is I mean, the other guys must have been phenomenal, because if he didn't place, I can only imagine, like, that's a deep cut in those teardrops, like, quads just all over. From the rear, he looks awesome. I can see perhaps maybe lagging a little bit in the arms with this front double. But then when he turns around, hits it from the rear, wide back, awesome back. Even with the tattoos covering things, like, his definition shines for that. Quads, hamstrings look really good. He's gonna. I think I had him in my top 5. I think I just kind of am in between him and somebody else actually for that spot. But I would hope this guy does really well at this show. I'm actually a pretty decent fan of this guy's physique.
Yeah, he looks really solid, man. He's a guy who just comes back better and better each time too. So that's Keith Jenkins. Next up, we've got Tyler Johnson out of Canada. So we've got the only other guy besides Blake who has made the Olympia before. Tyler has already punched his ticket to go to this year's Olympia, the 60th anniversary of the Olympia in Vegas. He won the Body B1 Pro last week by 1 point. Really close show. But Tyler's biggest strengths, in my opinion, are just 1, his muscularity, 2, his width, and 3, just his balance. He's a very balanced guy. He's one of those guys who does not have a specific weak point. And you can see that here from these shots these are at Pure, I believe. So, Rob, what are your thoughts on him, man?
I mean, like I lit it out earlier, I have Canada taking this show. So whether it's Tyler or Blake, those are my guys as far as I see in the top 2. Coming off of Body B1, I don't know if that's going to be tricky for him, improving on that conditioning, holding the conditioning. If he's not, I believe he's still with the Cito, if I'm not mistaken. He could have changed coaches, but I mean, Tyler gets in shape. He stays in shape. The one shot he's got, the most muscular though, like I would love to see him give either 212 or open a shot, just because I think it makes too much sense. Like, his shoulders kick a lot of ass. He's got good density. He's got good size. Like, he's a thick dude. If he ever, like, I don't think he's ever gonna get bored of Classic, but ever wants to, like, step it up a notch, like, I'd love to see him in the Open one day.
Yeah, he's one of those guys who it's like he could do either, and I don't think a whole lot of people could say that.
No, I don't think either.
Yeah, he's definitely up there for me, man. I think it's going to be a battle, and I would not be surprised if he wins this show. Truthfully, I think Tyler's got all the tools to do it, man. So that's Tyler Johnson out of Canada, and we're gonna switch screens just to go to NPC News Online so we can pull up some of these specific photos of Chuck Mosseri. So we got Chuck Mosseri. He's an Ohio guy, I believe. So shout out to Ohio. For anybody out there who's from Ohio, I'm an Ohio guy originally, so definitely can appreciate that when I see anybody from there. So we'll pull up Chuck's photos. Let's see.
Yeah, another guy at the Ben Weider.
Yeah, so he was 4th at Ben Weider. Another Masters pro, but I think he's really good, man. Like, really detailed. Just looking at these 2 shots.
He is, actually. I didn't realize this. I wasn't looking at these pictures earlier. I thought I was looking at the most recent. It was like the North Americans or something. Yeah, my opinion just changed dramatically. Front relaxed. His quads are great. Like, that's always going to be like the first area I look for, like especially on the pro level, is just are there legs in? In particular, the quads, the separations, then hamstrings and glutes. Admittedly, from the rear, I have the same problem where the glutes just wrinkle up a little bit. I don't know if it was just like awkward timing on a picture, but a little bit of wrinkling in the lower back. So that would need a little bit of improvement. Otherwise, I mean, I'm almost at like a little bit of loss of words because like the immediate improvement I saw from the pictures I was just looking at when you pulled up the naturals, looks good. Looks good. The wheels look amazing. His posing looks pretty deep. I say pretty decent as if that's not a good thing. But we're on the pro league. Like everybody's phenomenal. It's kind of just like splitting hairs at this point. But among these natural guys, like they're all bringing some heat actually. Like,
yeah, these are a lot of the top natty guys, I think. At least it seems like we've got most of the guys who generally do well to Ben Weeder in this show.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
A lot of guys from the Midwest. Yeah, but I think Chuck's really solid, especially for a Masters guy. I mean, I do think he's over 50 if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I keep trying to avoid using that, like, for Masters or Nationals guys, because I don't want to take away from like the success they're having in the physique, right?
Oh, I mean, he got 4th at Ben Weeder, which is an accomplishment in itself. But
yeah, yeah, it's so funny because I was at that show too, but I didn't stay for Classic. I should have, man. I missed out on these guys.
Yeah, so that is Chuck Masseri. We'll switch back to get to Instagram. All right, so our next competitor is out of Brazil. This was kind of a surprise. So Andre Oliveira. So this guy turned pro in 2023 at the Amateur Olympia, Argentina. I think this guy's got a lot of potential, man.
Yeah.
I don't know if you got a chance to look at his photos, but this guy's sharp.
I did briefly. I wasn't able to find anything online in the real quick time that I took, but went to his Instagram because we follow each other. Only noticed that he was doing the show earlier today when I checked out your caption and saw him in there. Looks fantastic. Really good. There's the one classic shot he has up there. I think he's outside doing a classic bicep. Yeah, that. He looks amazing in that picture. Really good pose for him. I do have him flipping places with somebody else in the top 5. I'm that confident that he's going to do that well. So we'll see. It's exciting. Or he's an exciting person, I should say. See how he does.
Yeah, I think he'll do pretty well, man. This is going to be an exciting pro debut. And he's going to be at the Orlando Pro here in a couple of weeks. So hitting a couple of American shows for his first pro run. Excited to see how Andre does.
Yeah, good for him.
Next up, we got Laconia Seymour. So he's a Pittsburgh guy. And, I really like his structure. He was 5th at Masters World Championships last year. Good density in that side chest. Rob, what do you think of him?
Look at those pictures now. I mean, I'll probably start sounding like a broken record at a certain point, but legs, I look at his quads, it's solid. Skin looks pretty thin. The abdominals, like good conditioning there, like that he's lean enough. Arms stand out. One of the guys who actually looks genuinely happy to be standing on stage and posing from his front double here. Like, not enough people smile, man. So I'm going to give that guy a lot of credit for just making me feel good looking at him on stage. Side tricep actually looks really good. Maybe his stomach could be a little tighter, but I mean, that's like the most nitpicky thing I could really say.
Yeah, he's got real clean lines too, in my opinion. I think his lines are really solid too. That's one thing that stands out to me. Quads and delts, man.
To reject the phone call there, but
oh, it's good, dude.
But yeah, like his posing, like the physique, the muscularity, density there, and a few poses in particular, like I mentioned, tricep I really enjoy. We'll see. I mean, again, Masters guy did really well at Masters World, so let's just see how he does in a younger crowd.
Yeah, so that is Laconia Seymour. Next up, we've got Gerard. Also goes as Yaiki Toribio Perez. He's going to be the biggest guy in this lineup. He's out of the Dominican Republic, but now based in Seattle. He's done pretty well at pro shows up to this point. He's kind of battled in some first call-outs here and there. This guy is a mountain of a man. Really good shape, too. So this is an update from a day ago. I'm not sure if this is exactly recent, but Rob, you've seen this guy before, I assume. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, as soon as his pictures came up on my when I was looking him up, it's like, this is the guy I think if he wins, I'd be pretty happy. His front double like just impresses the absolute hell out of me. Really like his posing, really like his structure. His lats just like flare out, ridiculously small waist. All of the shots are really strong. Rear double bicep kicks a lot of ass. The hamstring glutes, just very much like an X-frame. I don't know that he's going to have, because I do believe he's a much taller guy. I don't know if that's going to help or hurt him against like Tyler Johnson, for example, or if he can overwhelm like a Blake Course. From the rear, I think he makes a strong argument to take Blake, but a couple other poses, I think Blake's probably going to have better conditioning. But this is probably my favorite guy in the lineup. So if he wins, wonderful. Not going to be disappointed. I have him safely in the top 5. I'm a really big fan of this guy's physique, actually. This is unquestionably, I think, like the favorite physique for me in the show.
Yeah, this is what Milos Sarcev would refer to as hashtag bodybuilding. You just see this guy checks all the boxes, man.
It does.
Crazy.
Excellent fashion, too.
Yeah. So that's Gerard Toribio Perez out of the Dominican Republic. Next up, we got Brian Waters. So Brian's making his first appearance in 3 years. Brian is, I believe he's a chiropractor, a doctor of chiropractic.
Yeah,
so that's pretty cool. So his last appearance was at the Dallas Europa. He was 9th place there. Got an ab and thigh shot here, which is pretty sharp. I like this shot a lot for him, man. I think the detail's really good.
Yeah, his conditioning is awesome. I'm not certain. From just the pictures I see, it appears to be like a smaller person, smaller in stature. So I don't know if he's going to get lost in the shuffle with like the taller guys like we just saw a moment ago, and then Blake. What will carry him, though, is how sharp he gets, or at least by these pictures here. The front double, rear double, definitely not bad shots for him. He's got to play the conditioning game, and he'll walk out there and he's going to impress some people.
Very, very sharp. I'm a big fan of condition in general, and it gets you looked at. So yeah, he's definitely controlling what he can there. So I'm looking forward to see what kind of condition Brian brings at this show. No doubt it's going to be good. So it's Brian Waters. Next up, we got Lenny Wicks. So Lenny is a 2-time Ben Weider champ. He's been to the Olympia. He's been to the Arnold Classic. He's a world champion power lifter. This guy, just like the accomplishments just keep going. And really diligent, hard worker. These are some updates from a couple of days ago. So these were a week out. So
he looks really
this is a guy who's just got a lot of muscle.
Yeah, he does. He absolutely does. He's got heavy arms too, man. Like rear double, any angle, his arms are going to be like certainly a highlight to his physique. Again, the broken record. I mean, like his quads kick ass. He's got great legs. He's got good conditioning everywhere. Looks like he has a pretty good sense of like how to pose his body too, with like the front double, rear, the side chest rather. I mean, even the side chest, his shoulders striated, chest pops out. It's the natural guys are really impressing me, I have to be honest. This guy in particular, like you said, 2-time Ben Weider champ, and I believe it. Like, yeah, I see him and it makes perfect sense. Like, there's no reason why he can't do well at this show.
Like, I think he's good enough. Depending on how other guys show up, this guy could be in the top 5. And this is not me blowing smoke. I like genuinely believe that.
Yeah. Again, it depends how everybody shows up, but I don't think anybody would argue that or be upset if he did.
Yeah. So that's Lenny Wicks. And lastly, we've got Tywan Williams, another guy. He's placed as high as second at the Ben Weider. He also, so I do believe he is a Masters pro, but he typically just competes in Open Classic, and his structure stands out to me. Very good condition as well. Like the lower half in this back double bicep is very impressive to me.
Yeah. He's got a smile, man. I hate to be that guy. You just highlighted with the other dude, Devin, I think it was. He doesn't look happy. And that's a petty thing for me to say with, I'm going to be honest with you, but just to kind of make it a little lighthearted. Because otherwise, yeah, he does look good. As you mentioned, like the lower back and the rear double looks good. I'm going through his ab and thigh shots here. These are from the Atlantic Coast, which I believe is his most recent show, if I'm not mistaken. Work on the conditioning quite a little bit, but other than that, solid guy.
Yeah. Very good structure, well put together, a lot of
Good
balance.
Good conditioning from the sides, yeah.
Yeah. So that's Tywan Williams, and that is our full classic physique lineup here for the Indy Pro. And now for the exciting part. So Rob and I are going to make our top 5 picks. I know this was not easy. I was definitely struggling here with this one for both the winner as well as my top 5. But Rob, since you're the guest man, I'll give you the option. Would you like to go first, or would you like me to?
I'll go first on this one. Why not?
Oh yeah.
So I mean, you are right. I actually I switched this up a number of times and had to get final confirmation before I even locked these in. Just phone a friend to make sure like this makes sense. So as far as the top 5, who we have in no particular order, and then I'll go through it, is Eric Abalon. I just have him in initial JT Perez, Gerard rather, Blake, Tyler, and is his name pronounced Andre? The guy, he's from Brazil, no?
Yeah, Andre Oliveira.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's playing it a little safe. I have Tyler and Blake battling out for first and second. With I think the edge is going to go to Tyler, perhaps on conditioning. Bit more dense, like his frame is just filled out a little bit better, in my opinion, than Blake says. Not to knock Blake by any extent. I think he's a phenomenal bodybuilder, but I just think Tyler's going to edge past him on this one. Third place, Gerard Perez. Initially I had him higher, but I saw him in some comparisons. I think he could fill his frame just a little bit more before he's in that conversation, but I have him in third. And then I went back and forth between Eric and Andre. Eric's typically fighting to get into the top 5. I went with just like a flip of the coin here. I'm going to put Eric in 4th. Only because, not that I don't think he doesn't deserve it, I think he does. But after the last showing at Fit Worlds, I have a feeling Eric's just going to use that to really motivate himself and push. Like, I'm following him on Instagram, like, he seems to really be pushing himself. He's going several days, no carbs. Like, he really wants it. So I think he could edge out Andre, and then Andre finishing with a 5th place. Had some guys kind of may switch into the top 5, but I went through the pictures a few different times. I'm feeling pretty confident with this, so Tyler, Blake, JT, Eric, Andre. That's my lineup for the top 5 in this show.
Yeah, man. Those a very solid top 5. That is the exact, so not in the same order, but that's the exact top 5 that I have. I will say, man, I was struggling with that 5th place spot, though, dude. It was...
Yeah, right? It was a tricky one.
It was tricky because I think there are a lot of guys who could, be in that top 5. whether that's I was really struggling because like I think Rohan Duncan's got great structure and could be right there. I think Lenny Wicks, like with his condition and muscularity, is going to really give people some trouble as well. But I ended up going with the same in terms of order. We've got so I'll start from 5th place. I've got Andre Oliveira in 5th in his pro debut. I think he'll do very well here, just because he compares very well structurally with a lot of these guys. I think in a lineup he's going to stand out because he has very good structure and has clean, crisp lines, and I think that's going to be the separating factor. But where I think Eric is going to beat him in 4th place is he's just got a little bit more density and just looks a little bit more classic, in my opinion, particularly in the front shots. So I've got Eric. I just think he's more complete than Andre. He's got more, experience under his belt, and I think Eric will show up and do pretty well here. Then I've got Yaiki Toribio Perez here in 3rd. Structurally, this guy is just so gifted. His condition has been figured out over the past year or so. I think during his rookie year, he struggled a bit with the condition, but he's definitely nailed that. And really, it's just a matter of, he's a huge guy, so just filling out. Really, that back double bicep is like the only pose I think that has really held him back. But I think he'll do pretty well here. He's like good enough. I mean, if something crazy happens and Blake and Tyler are not, if they're not on for some reason, this guy could steal the show. Like he's that structurally gifted. If they show up really off, I don't think that's going to happen. But if they were to, and with that said, the top 2 I think is going to be just stupid close. This would be a show where I would not be surprised if either of the top 2 wins, and it could come down to a point just like it did last week. But I do think, so my instincts are telling me that we're going to probably see a couple of different call-outs with these guys. They're going to get a good look at Blake and Tyler, and these guys are both going to be really conditioned. They both have great structure. But I think the edge is actually going to come here with Blake. I think Blake has slightly better structure than Tyler does. I think in terms of just the waist to lat to quad ratio, Blake beats Tyler by a hair. Now, you could argue that Tyler beats Blake in the back double bicep, but I think Blake has brought up his back just enough in this past offseason where it's a pose that he doesn't lose badly. I think it's going to be a lot closer than maybe it would have been had they stood next to each other at the Olympia 2 years ago. Yeah. I see Blake taking this one in a very narrow victory. I think it's going to be really, really close. Their condition's going to be very comparable. They're both going to be lights out condition-wise. And I just think Blake's going to win it with his structure, particularly in the front shots. So I'm going to go Blake Course for the win. Tyler narrowly in 2nd place, but I would not be surprised if either of these guys win it. So,
no, yeah, it's Canada's show, man. 1st and 2nd, one way or another. So, I mean, despite my picking, like, I agree with you. Blake takes it makes sense. Tyler takes it makes sense. It really just seems to be a battle between these guys. And you do make a really good point. Like, there's enough differences in their physiques where they are exceptional in their own look. It might just be which way the judges bend. I'd hate to say it. Like, I'd hate to hear that Tyler takes 2nd on the shenanigans that he's already qualified and they just kind of tip it to Blake, but maybe that happens. We'll see. I mean, it's a really exciting show. It really is an exciting show. Not even with the top 5, but even the people who may fall out of it. Like, it's going to be a really, really good, barring everything goes well for these guys, it should be a really good show, really fun competition.
Absolutely, man. And the live stream will be available for this show. I'll put that down in the description so you guys can watch. And if you also want the updates, I'll be putting footage on my page as the show is going down here at CPC Bodybuilding. Make sure you guys give me a follow. But before we get out of here, again, I want to give a huge shout out to my buddy Rob for taking the time out of his day to just talk some classic physique. Truly means the world, dude. Really appreciate you.
Of course, and thank you for the invite, man. Like this stuff is fun, you know. It's nice being involved with the community, getting my name out there a little more, involved with these guys, rooting for them. You know, hell, I mean, even working with you to do this. Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of safe to say at this point with Classic Physique, like you're the guy kind of spearheading this.
Shoot, man, just trying to, and I do it because I love it, man. This is my my NFL, my NBA type of deal. So, but before we get out of here, Rob, you got anything you want to say to the people or any of the athletes watching?
As far as the guys in the show, it's predictions, man. I can't tell the future. Don't get upset with us here. We're just trying to go based on this stuff. It's fun. It's you don't want to hurt anyone's feelings or like have anyone take it personal. But it's a subjective sport, so we're just trying to have fun with this, see what's going on, see what makes sense. You know, if you and I turn out to have a pretty decent eye for this stuff, then it could just help more people if they ever ask for advice or for our own physiques. Like, at least we're legitimate in our claims. I don't know. I hope these guys have fun. It's the Indy Pro, for Christ's sakes. Like, it's hopefully going to be a really good show for them, and everybody shows up in good spirits, and they just, like, battle it out. Like, I wouldn't want it any other way in that sense. I'll thank my friend Kara for confirming my picks were fair. And I wasn't just throwing darts at the board here. Like, I felt confident at 1 and 2, but after that point, man, it's just, you're just looking in any kind of direction, just hoping you're close to it. So, that's it. Otherwise, excited to see these guys. Shows coming up. I think Orlando is actually going to be a pretty exciting show for Classic. See how it goes. And then, kind of the rest of it, you know, hoping for some surprises.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one, guys. Make sure you guys buy the live stream. Follow me on Instagram for the updates. That's going to do it for the preview and the predictions today. I'm Brant. That's Rob. Make sure you guys keep it classic. We'll catch you later.
Later.